Hey everyone, if you're watching this, then that means you've donated over $20 to our GoFundMe campaign. Um, Thank you so much for your significant donations. Seriously, we would not have been able to make this film without your guys' support. You guys are supporting us in not just making the film, but also sending out the film too. So I cannot emphasize how much it means to me that you guys have um, deemed us worthy of you guys' support. So I hope you guys know that Meet Me at the Cross is not just me, not just the people who were physically there, but also you guys as well. So this is a story of all of us, and I hope you guys enjoy. I've always had a critique for um, modern Christian films where the church was seen as super perfect and that, the atheist world is, evil while the religious world is like innocent good guys that, don't know why people hate them and stuff like that. That's not what I really saw, and it didn't feel true to me. What I saw growing up at church was real people having real experiences, having real struggles. Um, and relatable struggles, And I felt like there was no better way to capture that than to have, this character's sin become public. And that's kind of how the idea of Jacob, this PK who has like a secret, kind of came in. That was always the concept. It was star-crossed lovers in the church, and the theme was always hidden sin versus religious truth. And so I drafted up a script, and after building up the confidence to reach out to people that I met on set, I finally shared this project to other people.
I just knew you through working on sets through gripping, I think. And what I found to love about gripping is that you work, and then you also get downtime to kind of just like chat and meet people. And so we were just chatting, and you were telling me all of these stories about you growing up and your experiences, and especially your experience battling, your religious background with creative and what comes with that. And also, you'd mentioned, I think, that you'd love to make a film about that, about your experience, so bringing those themes into play. And I was like, dude, that would, I'm sure people would love to watch that. Like, that would be awesome. And it's this very unique personal thing to you, but I think a lot of people, when you were first telling me about it, I imagine that a lot of people could also connect with certain things about it. And so, like, that's always a great story to tell when it's unique and personal and specific, but also has the ability to connect. And so,
I was working on a feature film where I think it was key gripping on the feature film, actually.
Mhm.
You were also gripping on the feature film, I want to say. Maybe you were BBG or something like that. Where you told me that you had this idea for a film that you wanted to write and direct that was about kind of your background in the Korean church. And I thought it sounded like a really cool idea. And I was super excited to read the script and learn more about the project. And that's kind of how it all started rolling.
unlike a lot of the things that we've worked on at Chapman, this was completely independent, and so that means it's independently financed as well. And so obviously a lot of constraints come with time and money.
We're all balancing school. I was balancing a job, and people are doing school and job. It was really difficult to find the spare time and even the spare energy to be able to coordinate everything. The way we overcame that was we needed to have weekly meetings and be really diligent to have like progress every week. That was me, Remy, Dodge, Maddie Abiera, first AD, Natasha Parbu, production design, and Jordan Sharkey, who was our UPM.
This team was just such a great group of people to work with, because the I think the tasks that people took on were far beyond the scope of their written like role.
Mm.
And Daj is a great example of that. And so was everybody else that worked on this. People were trying to find locations when they worked in art department, or helping with catering crafty when they had nothing to do with that. But the way everyone pulled together to help really showed the passion for the project, because it was fully independent. No one's getting paid. Everyone was donating their time, but everyone really seemed to care about it, and that really showed.
All right.
Location was one of the biggest things, because we had to find a church that really fit the story, but also that could work with where our crew was based, the financial implications that we were dealing with, the size of the budget, you know.
And luckily, we had access to a church. It was Los Alamitos Grace and Truth Church, otherwise known as the neighborhood church in Los Alamitos. And they were gracious enough to lend out their church to us. It's a really beautiful space. And I thought it was perfect to just show like this really traditional looking church for a unconventional Christian story. Pastor Choi of the Korean church there and Pastor Mike of the American church there.
The Thai pastor, because they're like three separate churches that like cohabit this space.
They were so helpful in the whole process and were really gracious to give us the location for free too.
And then the Thai pastor actually ended up being featured in the film, him and his family.
Oh yeah. The thing was, we didn't have a room for Rachel's room.
And where could we shoot that that would work, you know, with production, with the schedules, everything.
The last resort was to use my home, which is like an hour away from everybody else. Fortunately for us, a month before the first day on set, Jordan Sharkey, our UPM, came through. She let us use her room for Jacob and Rachel's scene. And yeah, it looked great. Natasha did a great job dressing the room. It looked exactly the way I envisioned it.
Before this film, I pretty much only did a theater minor at UC San Diego, the college I was attending at the time. And the theater minor I took during COVID. So all my theater classes were online. All my theater classes were, you know, through Zoom. So interestingly enough, it was kind of fate, I would say, of how I got to play this character. But my dad knew a pastor that knew your dad. And that pastor was over at my house for dinner, and I was eating with him and his family, and we were kind of talking, and he asked me what I wanted to do. I told him I wanted to be an actor, and he said, oh, like, one of my friends' son is a director, and I just heard that he's doing this project about being a PK. You should talk to him. I'll give you his number. We met at Koreatown Plaza, and we ate some food.
And then from there, like, Caleb was just telling me how passionate he was about acting, and I told him the story, and he was really interested in it.
How you want to portray the pastor kid experience, something that we both deeply relate to. And yeah, you sent me the sides and I auditioned and I got it.
I knew he'd be perfect for the role, especially, you know, with his background, you know, and he brought so much to the role that I never anticipated. You know, it was a perfect fit in my mind.
I just wasn't too confident in my ability to act in front of a camera and on a set for the first time. Honestly, before this, I didn't think too much about the technical aspects. So to see someone holding a mic and to see someone do the lighting and all these different roles that, you know, of course I knew would be there, but it was my first time really seeing it in action, being filmed. I mean, luckily the set was just so kind, and the director and the cast, everyone was really so kind. So it felt very easy to go through those challenges as I was filming.
You know, when I saw the audition for this movie and saw that this was, you know, related to religion, I thought this was, you know, a calling card from God, which is one of the reasons I applied. In the beginning, I thought this was going to be extremely religious, as in, like, you know, whatever says in the Bible is what's in the movie. And then I got the script, and then it was actually exactly the opposite of like a traditional like Christian movie. It wasn't all religion is always good. And actually that made me think a lot about what religion is, and finding my character was it was a different process than what I thought. And I did discover a lot about religion and about myself.
She really wanted to bring something new to the character. I felt like the other auditions that we got didn't really have the same pain in the voice that Jane kind of brought. And I thought for that reason that she would be perfect for that.
When I first saw Rachel's script, I tried to categorize it more into an antagonist, like someone who's bothering Caleb, who's making problems for Caleb. But, you know, she really has her own good intentions in mind. And I think that was one of the biggest thing that I noticed that was different from the first draft I received and the last draft I received. She was more open to Caleb. Her mind isn't like, I'm going to bother the hell out of Caleb. It's just, and, you know, things don't work out between two people, you know, it just happens. And the way she let go of him at the end, it wasn't like get out of my house. It was like, you know, I still love you, but this won't work out.
그만서 깨야지.
I'm not honestly not a professional actor, or my major was not acting either. But I was interested in Christian movie for many years at church. I used to play church play. Good Samaritan, and the Christmas stories and.
So my dad told me about Pastor Kim, who was really passionate about media ministry. He really believed in telling Christian stories on screen.
Because Christian culture and Christian movie ministry is very important to this generation, and especially in these times, so we can spread out the Christian value and the gospel.
It was a perfect fit. Like for me to have a film that wants to tell a Christian story with this pastor who is passionate about that very cause.
I have been ministering as a pastor for many years, as you know.
Yeah.
And I was a missionary too. So it was challenging to me because this story is about Christian family and also church life.
사랑하는 교우 여러분, 이제 다 같이 마음을 정돈하시고 묵도하심으로 하나님 앞에 예배를 드리시겠습니다. 같이 기도하겠습니다.
Every day of set just felt really smooth. I was able to trust everybody and everybody's role. Everyone on the crew was just executing their jobs perfectly, and to the point where I didn't have to worry about anything but working with the actors. And even with the actors, because they all related to the story so well, like I didn't have to critique or direct them too much. It was more about just guiding them to the right performance that I felt fit the character.
There were a couple of things with like scheduling and location. Like there was the daycare was open like while we were shooting the scene in between, like this really serious like dramatic scene between the pastor's office. And yeah, there were like all these kids like playing at their recess, like right outside the window. So I'm sure that was really difficult for sound.
In the film, you could actually hear some kids like running around and laughing, screaming, and we couldn't like get it out in post. And I felt, honestly, I felt that it added to the scene because it was like hearing kids just having fun while you as the PK are put to a different standard where you have to act a certain way. Even though it was something that distracted us and we were kind of worried about, it added to the thing.
그리고 그 여자 그만 만나.
We also shot the scene where Jacob is running out of the door and leaving the church. That was a challenge. Initially, we planned to just walk with Jacob.
But I think I just realized like walking back with them, like with the camera on my shoulder was just like not super possible considering like how fast Jacob was walking. And that's part of like the blocking and part of like the energy of the scene. So I kind of realized, okay, we need to figure out a different solution. My key grip, Harrison, he has like a personal like little cart dolly thing, and he ended up like ratchet strapping a configuration with like an Apple box that I was able to sit on, and he was able to like pull me really fast as I sat on the Apple box with the camera on my shoulder.
That shot took like probably the most amount of rehearsals and the most amount of takes.
When I was running, I didn't remember that in the church,
Yes.
I was chasing, to my son in the movie, and I repeat, many times and do it again. It was a big challenge, but it was really, fun.
That was, I think, probably one of the harder days for him. First day on set, acting, he has smoke blown up in his face, and he's being forced to run up and down the aisle.
But the pastor who plays my dad, he was just such an entertaining personality. I think in another life, he would have been an entertainer instead of a pastor because he's just so fun to work with. I don't remember exactly which scene it was, but he was kind of just dancing while we were waiting for everything to happen, and he was messing around, and I just thought that was so fun to watch
Because I'm a first generation, they are young people. Yeah. I don't want to break some gaps, first to second generations, and when I have a fellowship with new people, something came to my mind, and she looks like Julia Roberts. He looks like other actor. Just to resemble. There are those just steps and actresses, pictures in my mind, and I'm enjoying the time.
After we wrapped the first day, we actually wrapped early. Jane was gonna meet Caleb for the first time in person because this whole time we're doing callbacks or we're having rehearsals, it was actually over Zoom. And we have an intimate scene the next day.
And usually there's an intimacy coordinator for these kind of scenes, but where it just what didn't happen for this film. But you brought us both to the room where we're supposed to be kissing.
He comes to us, me and Caleb, and then tells us, okay, so for the big kissing scene, which we're gonna do tomorrow, the first scene I think it was.
Yeah.
We're gonna go here, you're gonna bump into here, you're gonna like sit on here, wherever, blah blah blah. Okay, you got it. Let's practice, like without the mouth. We do it, and then by the end, he's like, okay, so.
And then you said, oh, I'm going to leave the room because I don't want to, intrude on your privacy. So you two kind of figure it out.
And then he leaves. And then Caleb and I are just like, okay.
So me and Jane at the time were just kind of discussing what we felt comfortable with, how far it can go in terms of touching, in terms of just the intimate physicality of it all. And luckily it worked out well and we were able to do it. I just thought that was so funny at the time because me and Jane barely just met too. I think it was the day of we met and then we were kind of doing that.
My favorite shot was definitely the shot in the cafeteria with all the extras. It was just like so natural. Like it didn't feel like staged or like forced at all. And it was like considering like how many extras there were and like how many coordinated like movements we had to do. It was just super smooth. And just was like everyone was just like hanging out, eating food, and like having a fun time. And it just felt like we were just like shooting there.
Maddie did an amazing job of coordinating with all the extras, making sure every extra knew what they were doing. Joel Yoon, our second assistant director, who gave every single extra like a backstory. And it feels so real because Joel kind of gave everyone an assignment.
Everyone that was on this set was there because they wanted to be there. It wasn't a class requirement. It wasn't a job. Everyone had read the script and wanted to be a part of that. And, it's always so much fun to work with friends on set like that. It's such a great time. But I think what made it really fun was that, we had a lot of friends there and a lot of people that we've worked with before. It was a great team. But I think it was the vibe of, everyone giving their full 100% to the project. And that shared experience that we were all getting.
Post-production took a long time. The typical workflow is that you would usually know who your editor is while you're on set, and we didn't have that. So when we brought Riley on board, Riley brought up the idea of using that last scene of Jacob looking up at the church as the beginning and the end. That was never something that I planned, so Riley brought a whole different perspective to the project. I felt like gives the film such a different feel. Asher Kaplan as our composer for the score, who did an amazing job, by the way, with crafting this like Korean waltz. We had Nick Lindell Wright as the colorist who made all these colors just pop, Wilson Jones as sound designer, who patched things up for us and made everything sound crystal clear.
But it was so much fun to see the evolution, of that from that very first conversation where you were telling me this experience that you've had, to then reading that first draft of the script that you sent me months later, to then reading the final shooting draft, to now seeing it on screen. It's like that's what's so cool about making movies, is getting to see that evolution.
it's not just this idea in my head, but it was also the input and the collaboration of all these different artists as well. And we would not have been able to do that without your guys' support. And it all circles back to you guys. Thank you so much for supporting Meet Me at the Cross, for supporting independent filmmakers, for supporting Asian American art. Thank you guys so much. It really means a lot to me. What you guys see on the film is all of ours. It's a very collective film. It's not just mine. And I hope you guys know that too. Being able to finish the film, seeing it on the big screen, yeah, like, and then thinking back to dropping out of Chapman, I would never have imagined myself being in this spot where I'm able to look back on Meet Me at the Cross and share it with everyone here and share the story behind how it became made. If you are someone who feels like you have a calling, I hope this kind of inspires you to follow that and not just to let it live in your mind, but to act upon it as well and externalize that.
If you honestly love what you're doing, you're gonna love running every second of it. And of course, you don't have to run all the time because it's a marathon. You can take your time. You can rest a little bit. You can kind of venture off into different paths that you didn't think you'd go to. But overall, if you really, really love what you're doing, the marathon's not gonna feel that long because you're just gonna keep walking. It's just gonna be one step after the other.
Thank you guys for watching. This was the BTS of Meet Me at the Cross.